At the heart of London, where the stone walls of Buckingham Palace have stood firm for centuries, there has always been a captivating contrast. On one hand, it is a symbol of stability and unchanging tradition. On the other, observers pose a major question. Is that stillness a sign of true calm, or merely a flawless facade concealing powerful undercurrents of change? Recently, international public opinion has been abuzz with speculation about a quiet transition, one in which figures long regarded as operating behind the scenes are gradually stepping into the spotlight to reshape the established order. In a world of ritual, every step and every glance carries its own hidden code. Unverified sources suggest that the presence of Queen Camilla appears to be facing unprecedented challenges from the very long-standing pillars of the family itself. The hypothesis of necessary conservatism speculation has centered on Princess Anne, often hailed as the hardest-working member of the royal family. Is there or is there not a clear divide in viewpoints between deeply rooted tradition and the changes unfolding today? Some analysts suggest that Anne may be assuming the role of a guardian of legacy, one for whom the stories of the past are not easily erased by time. The alliance of the future, the emergence of Princess Kate within this narrative, only adds to the drama of the hypothesis. Could there be a tacit consensus among the palace's generations of women about redefining what it means to be a true symbol? To fully understand the current tensions, we must look to the flow of history itself. This is not the first time the monarchy has faced a convergence of divergent opinions. From the transformative reforms of Henry VIII to the controversial romances of George IV, royal history has always been a series of choices between personal emotion and public duty. It seems that every era requires a catalyst for evolution, and in the hypothetical scenario we are examining, Camilla's presence may well represent the greatest test of the monarchy's capacity to adapt in the 21st century. Behind closed doors, what is truth and what is merely fragments of speculation, pressures of loyalty, responsibility, and public image can create challenges that outsiders can scarcely comprehend. Are we witnessing an internal reckoning aimed at long-term sustainability, or are these simply the inevitable aftershocks of a monarchy in transition? Where will these changes ultimately place the British royal family on the map of history? What do you think of this hypothesis? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and together we will decode it in the upcoming discussions. In the digital age, life for members of Buckingham Palace is no longer limited to state visits or ceremonial appearances. Through the lens of systems analysts, they are living inside a vast glass chamber where every breath and every exchanged glance is decoded like a form of political cipher. Why does the public constantly search for signs of fracture? Perhaps because excessive perfection often feels unreal. As a result, even the smallest gesture from King Charles or other members can become the focal point of a storm of speculation about secret alliances or simmering animosities beneath the surface. The presence of Queen Camilla within the current power structure is regarded as a unique variable. From an analytical perspective, her transition from a controversial figure to the consort at the apex of the monarchy has been a journey marked by immense pressure. The hypothesis of division raises the question of whether the royal system has truly been able to absorb this presence. Some informed voices argue that her ascent has not only polarized public opinion, but also created a kind of mechanical pressure on internal relationships where old and new values are colliding with particular force. If the royal family is viewed as a smoothly functioning system, then the departure of Harry and Meghan represents a structural rupture that is difficult to conceal. Explosive interviews and direct criticism from the outside inadvertently stripped away the glossy veneer exposing internal contradictions that had previously been dismissed as mere family matters. In a highly dramatic hypothetical scenario, this event is seen as the catalyst that escalated long-standing tensions within the palace into an existential challenge for the monarchy itself. The focus of attention is now converging on a figure who is discreet yet formidable, Princess Anne. In in-depth analyses, Anne is often portrayed as a guardian of the monarchy's most exacting standards. Hypothetical analysis asks whether there could be a shocking revelation from her regarding the Queen Consort's position. Some bold theories suggest that Anne may be acting as an arbiter, raising serious questions about whether Camilla's presence aligns with the system's long-term future. If true, this would not merely be a personal disagreement, but a struggle to safeguard the integrity of the dynasty itself. Buckingham Palace today resembles a chessboard filled with countless potential moves. Leaks about reconsidering the position of a key figure may be nothing more than trial balloons to gauge public reaction, or they could signal the early stages of a comprehensive overhaul. Will the monarchy choose to preserve a flawless exterior, or will it confront its fractures head-on in order to restructure? And in this intricate power game, who will ultimately be the one to uphold the very foundations of the royal institution amid the turbulence of a changing era? In a system whose existence is measured in millennia, each individual functions like a cog within a vast machine. Princess Anne and Princess Kate have long been regarded as quiet architects, shaping the image of a dutiful and principled monarchy. If Anne embodies iron discipline and absolute loyalty to duty, Kate represents composure and refined diplomacy. What then happens when these two inherently steady pillars appear in hypotheses of discord with the new center of power, Queen Camilla? Let us view Princess Anne through the lens of a guardian of legacy. Princess Anne, with her notable bluntness, may not merely be expressing personal character, but rather activating a mechanism to protect that legacy. Her caution toward Camilla is not personal animosity, but a systemic self-defense response. In the eyes of conservatives, disruption within the royal family represents a dangerous variable. Any confrontation at the coronation banquet, if it occurred, would not be a personal clash, but a confrontation between conservatism and adaptation. If Anne chooses a direct approach, Kate employs a different language of power, the absence of protocol. In symbolic analysis, circles the act of not curtsying during the coronation is considered an explosive detail. Within the royal system, a curtsy is not merely a gesture of respect, it is an acknowledgement of hierarchy. The absence of this gesture from someone as impeccably protocol-conscious as Kate raised a significant question. Was it a simple oversight or a silent declaration of reluctance to fully accept a new order? Kate's silence at times carries more weight than 1,000 words, hinting at an undercurrent of polarization unfolding beneath the veneer of unity. Why does everything circle back to tradition? Because in the royal world, tradition is the single thread preventing the dynasty from unraveling amid social upheaval. Even the smallest breach of long-standing rules can trigger a domino effect, leading to systemic disorder. From the perspective of some key figures, Camilla's presence appears to be testing the very limits of those binding threads. Buckingham Palace is not merely the residence of a family. It is a battleground of ideologies. On one side stands the steadfast adherence to traditional values embodied by Anne and Kate. On the other, the effort of the Queen Consort to assert her position. Are the notions of removal or purification raised by these hypotheses truly taking place, or is this simply a painful process of adaptation, allowing the monarchy to move into a new era? The answer likely does not lie in official statements, but in glances exchanged, steps taken, and the curtsies that will or will not appear in the future. In the royal world, a curtsy has never been merely a gesture of politeness. It is a digital signature affirming hierarchy, an absolute acknowledgement of power and status. From a systems perspective, observing how members bow to one another is how the public deciphers the true power map of Buckingham Palace. At the coronation, the most symbolically charged event of a reign, the actions of the Princess of Wales fell under the media's microscope. The absence of a formal, unmistakable curtsy from Kate toward Queen Camilla gave rise to a startling hypothesis. Was this merely a technical oversight or a subtle message sent from the future of the dynasty? Before we delve deeper into the ghosts of the past surrounding the palace, I'd really like to hear your perspective. Based on the analysis so far, do you see Queen Camilla as a woman of resilience and capability, or simply as a fault line causing division? If you support her and believe she is competent, leave a comment with the number 2. If you disagree with her current position, leave the number 5. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe right now, so you won't miss the next episodes where we continue to decode these shocking developments. Some voices suggest that we may be witnessing a subtle modernization of the royal image. Rather than elaborate rituals, a gentle nod from Kate could be interpreted as an expression of minimalism in the era of King Charles III. However, analysts pose a sharper question for someone long regarded as a symbol of propriety. Like Kate, could such subtlety truly be accidental? The hypothesis of silent resistance emerges when the wife of the future king, entrusted with safeguarding traditional values, chooses to meet the Queen's gaze directly. Instead of bowing her head, it may be seen as a deliberate act of crossing the line. Is Kate setting a new boundary for respect and power? To understand the current tension, we cannot avoid invoking a name that has become legendary: Princess Diana. Consider a hypothetical question. If the consort on the throne that day had been Diana, would the atmosphere at Buckingham have been different? The legacy of the past weighs heavily, and a widely held hypothesis suggests that Camilla's presence remains an unhealed scar in the hearts of the princes and those most deeply tied to Diana's enduring legacy. If the upheavals of the past had never occurred, would Harry have left? Would the rift between the brothers have grown so deep? Perhaps behind Kate's steady gaze lies a convergence of emotions that have never been spoken aloud. Could she be acting as a representative of a shared, unvoiced sentiment held by those who believe that position once belonged to someone else? Even so, we must acknowledge a harsh reality in the royal world. Personal emotion is often required to yield to law and absolute order. Kate Middleton is not merely a woman with private thoughts, she is a model for future heirs. Bypassing an important ritual may be seen as a risky distraction, but it could also be a strategic move in the monarchy's transformation under King Charles. The ultimate goal is to ensure the dynasty's survival, yet the price may sometimes be the sacrifice of rules that have existed for centuries. Was Kate's nod toward Camilla a gesture of refined respect, or the punctuation mark ending an era of absolute deference? And how will these simmering tensions reshape the face of the British royal family when William and Kate formally assume the throne? Every detail, no matter how small, may be a fragment of a major transformation we are only just beginning to perceive. In your view, are the silence and shifting gestures of the Princess of Wales a sign of modernization, or do they reflect a divide that cannot be healed? The British monarchy, an institution built on pillars of permanence, now appears to be standing at a historic crossroads. To survive in the 21st century, this system may be forced into a process of natural selection, preserving its core values while letting go of rules that have grown rigid with time. Reconsidering long-standing rituals such as the curtsy can be seen as part of a risky yet necessary modernization strategy. The ultimate aim is to ensure that this transition does not undermine the foundations of the monarchy while remaining flexible enough to avoid being dismissed as a relic of the past. From the public's perspective, the actions of the Princess of Wales have sparked a fascinating wave of mixed reactions. Rather than being viewed as a mistake, many have interpreted them as a breath of fresh air. The hypothesis of independence emerges here. Could we be witnessing a new generation of royals refusing to play the role of pre-programmed puppets? Some observers argue that the willingness to challenge rigid rules reveals Kate's independent mindset, where personal emotion and perspective are beginning to carry greater weight than centuries-old values. However, all change encounters resistance. For staunch traditionalists, the act of curtsying is not merely a sign of personal respect, but a symbol of social stability and order. They believe that no individual, no matter how influential, has the right to stand above legacies that have endured across generations of reigns. This contradiction fuels an endless spiral of debate. Is the relaxation of protocol a step toward modernity, or the beginning of fractures within a system built on absolute formality? While Kate represents subtle change, Princess Anne has emerged as the figure most clearly reflecting dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs. Anne's caution toward Queen Camilla appears to go beyond personal tension. Why would someone as devoted to duty as Anne view Camilla as an incompatible variable? Perhaps in her eyes, Camilla's presence carries past mistakes and controversies that could cloud the perceived purity of the monarchy. The royal drama thus becomes not merely a story of personal relationships, but a struggle to protect a standard that Anne believes is under threat. The transformation of Buckingham Palace is a quiet, yet highly dramatic process, its pace shaped by internal acceptance and reactions from the outside world. The controversies surrounding Queen Camilla and the responses of the two princesses are simply the latest chapters in a history book that is being rewritten in real time. Will a more modern monarchy bring it closer to the people, or will the loss of traditional rituals cause the dynasty's aura to fade? In the flow of history, some stories do not end when their main characters exit the stage. Instead, they become shadow legacies that linger over the present. The life of Queen Camilla is a striking example of how the past can shape and sometimes imprison public perception for decades. Recently, as her status has been elevated, the codes of the 1980s and 1990s have once again been decoded through a lens of skepticism. Are we witnessing the mercy of time, or simply a perfectly executed media campaign designed to reconstruct an icon once rejected? Let us turn back to the turbulent era of the 1980s. In socio-psychological analysis, the bond between King Charles III and Camilla has often been described as a parallel system existing outside the framework of traditional royal rules. The arrival of Diana, the People's Princess, established a standard of purity against which any external intrusion was perceived as a serious systemic fault. Archival sources recall the iconic remark about three people in a marriage not merely as a complaint, but as a confirmation of a fractured structure. Camilla's long-standing presence in the shadows inadvertently forged her image as a counterweight to Diana, ensuring that every step she later took would be subjected to intense scrutiny. The year 1994 is often viewed as a breaking point in the monarchy's image strategy. The explosive interview with Jonathan Dimbleby was not simply a confession of an unconventional relationship, but through an investigative lens, a high-risk attempt at enforced transparency. However, rather than easing tensions, it backfired by reinforcing the hypothesis that Camilla was the very cause of the collapse of a beloved icon. In the eyes of traditionalists and Diana's admirers, Camilla appeared to be permanently cast as a disruptor of order, a stain that no title could easily erase. The tragic events of 1997 in Paris were not only a profound loss for the monarchy, but also a turning point that completely reshaped Camilla's position and destiny. Diana's absence left behind an immense vacuum of both power and emotion. From a figure once fiercely opposed, Camilla began a process of quiet neutralization. She rarely appeared, choosing patience as a strategy for survival. Could it be that this endurance, her silence, and willingness to remain in the shadows for years gradually shifted the public's emotional frequency? A segment of the public moved from hostility to curiosity and ultimately toward a conditional form of acceptance. Today, as Camilla officially stands at the pinnacle of her role as Queen Consort, old questions continue to linger. Is this position a recognition of enduring love or the outcome of a finely calibrated exercise in power? Is her presence genuinely accepted by younger figures such as Anne and Kate, or are they merely adhering to a silent pact to safeguard the monarchy's survival? The past may have receded, but the fractures it left behind remain an inseparable part of the modern royal landscape. In 2005, when wedding bells rang to mark the official union of Charles and Camilla, observers noted a pivotal detail in the language of power, the title, Princess Consort. Why not Queen from the outset? Through the lens of systems analysts, this was not merely a name, but a form of public opinion buffer. One hypothesis suggests that the palace was making a strategic calculation. At the time, they understood that Camilla's presence remained too powerful an emotional trigger for those who revered the memory of Diana. Lowering the title was a calculated concession, a prudent move to preserve the stability of the monarchy during a highly sensitive transitional period. Time may soften fractures, but it cannot fully erase old frequencies. In 2022, when Charles formally ascended the throne, Camilla's elevation to the title of Queen Consort immediately triggered another storm of hypotheses. For a segment of the public still carrying Diana's legacy, this act was perceived as a profound symbolic rupture. Was the granting of this title a personal wish of the king or an inevitable step to reinforce the monarchy's legitimacy? The voices of opposition are not directed at an individual alone. They are defending a myth forever sealed by the tragic death of 1997. In their eyes, replacing a position once associated with Diana with Camilla appears to be a form of rewriting history that not everyone is prepared to accept. Yet when we look more closely at the palace's operations, we can discern a sustained effort to recode and reinterpret Camilla as a person. Rather than confronting criticism head-on, she chose the path of quiet service. Camilla's focus on causes such as literacy and animal welfare has been assessed by media experts as a strategy of humanizing the symbol. Could this be her way of building a parallel legacy in which tangible contributions serve as a counterweight to past controversies? Her reputation is being carefully reconstructed from the smallest pieces through patronages, steady commitment, and composed public appearances. Yet no matter how great the effort, the corridors of history continue to echo with voices that refuse to fade. The past still casts its shadow over every action of the current queen. Critics ask whether present-day dedication carries enough weight to eclipse memories of the once shocking third person. Perhaps Camilla's greatest challenge is not the fulfillment of royal duties, but persuading an entire generation that she is a worthy successor to a role burdened with immense pressure and expectation. In a system where image is the ultimate weapon, we are witnessing a sustained effort to shift the axis of public perception. In recent years, Camilla's presence has no longer been associated with glamorous banquets, but instead with appearances in society's overlooked and uncomfortable spaces. Her focus on sensitive issues such as domestic violence is viewed by analysts as a highly strategic move. Could this be an attempt to establish a new frequency of connection with the public, one in which empathy is prioritized over historical controversy? Some hypotheses suggest that by standing alongside the vulnerable, she is gradually peeling away a negative label that has persisted for decades. However, real-life efforts often collide head-on with the power of mass media. The emergence of dramatized cinematic works, most notably the series The Crown, has generated a distinct socio-psychological phenomenon. These productions are not merely entertainment, they function as a filter pulling the hidden corners of the past back into the center of contemporary debate. When cinema portrays a figure through shades of intrigue and hidden calculation, it inadvertently reinforces long-standing stereotypes in the public mind. For many younger viewers, this cinematic lens has become a primary source of reference, blurring the line between historical fact and scripted dramatization. This is the invisible barrier that even the most sincere charitable efforts cannot overcome overnight. No matter how hard one tries to distance oneself from the turbulence of an era, one reality remains undeniable. Royal history is a living entity. The public's continued questioning around Princess Diana is not merely an expression of hostility, but a form of loyalty to an emotional legacy. Some viewpoints suggest that sustaining skepticism toward Camilla is a way for the public to protect the memory of a turbulent chapter in the monarchy's history. In this scenario, Camilla is not simply confronting public opinion. She is facing a ghostly legacy, one in which every present action is weighed against what has been lost. Upon officially assuming the role of Queen Consort, Camilla has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability within the royal structure. Yet her legacy will always remain a complex symphony composed of present-day efforts intertwined with echoes of a past that has never fully faded. The shift in public perception may not depend on whether the past can be erased, but on whether the present is strong enough to create an entirely new and distinct chapter. Time is a master craftsman, capable of softening even the sharpest edges of history. Observing Queen Camilla's journey, analysts have noted a quiet shift in the collective psyche. From a figure once pushed to the margins of traditional moral norms, she has carved out her own trajectory, one in which growing authority and calm, restrained action have gradually earned trust. This is not merely the story of an individual, but a compelling example of adaptive survival within a monarchical institution. Could her presence be the very catalyst needed to shape a more modern, more pragmatic face for the British monarchy in a new era? When we examine the current power structure more closely, we see an image of Camilla built upon two pillars: atonement and perseverance. She has chosen to confront storms of public opinion through tireless service. Aligning her name with humanitarian causes appears not merely as duty, but as a deliberate way to redefine the meaning of her presence within the palace itself. Although the past remains a persistent shadow, her dedication to community values has turned her into an indispensable component of Buckingham's current operating system. Her legacy, therefore, is no longer a single linear narrative, but a complex matrix woven from past mistakes and renewed efforts. Yet within a system that prizes continuity as deeply as the monarchy does, the presence of guardians of tradition inevitably creates resistance. The most striking focal point of this tension is the attitude of Princess Anne, long regarded as the embodiment of discipline and unwavering loyalty to the monarchy's original values. The hypothesis surrounding Anne's dissatisfaction is not merely about personal conflict. It represents a broader question of compatibility. Can a system truly remain stable when its core contains controversial precedents? Anne's caution appears to serve as a reminder that no matter how the future is constructed, the strict standards of the past continue to exist as a form of oversight. We have traveled a long path in decoding the layers of emotion and power surrounding the presence of Queen Camilla. A life marked by trials, a complex path where every step is placed under the microscope of history. Faced with these data and analyses, what do you think about the fairness of our judgments? Are the firm reactions from figures such as Princess Anne a necessary defense of the monarchy's honor, or do they represent an obstacle to the inevitable evolution of the times? Is questioning the Queen's position at this stage a justified action, or should we accept change as an inherent part of the law of evolution itself? This information is for reference only based on unverified hypotheses, rumors, and public opinion. Let's discuss the issue from an objective analytical perspective. Don't just observe, leave your mark, press 1 if you want to explore more hidden variables of the monarchy. Press 0 if you're skeptical and believe what we see is only the tip of the iceberg. If you enjoy in-depth analysis, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue decoding the mysteries of power together. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for the next deep dive. In the world of symbols and heritage, sometimes silence carries more weight than 1,000 words. We are witnessing a historical split, not just within a family, but within the very concept of power in this new era. On one side is the dazzling light of the media, where personal stories are woven into focal points. On the other is the stillness of London's ancient walls, where chess pieces are being set for a future longer than any television contract. Numerous observers suggest that Prince William is exhibiting the demeanor of a chief architect of the future. Instead of reacting to the onslaught of public opinion, he chooses to strengthen the foundations of the institution. The question now is no longer, will it happen, but when is the optimal time? Redefining titles is not merely an individual act, but a symbolic restructuring. In an era of transparency, possessing a title is no longer seen as an immutable privilege, but a responsibility tied to genuine dedication. Across the ocean, we see a familiar motif, the clamor of press releases and the relentless pursuit of prominence in the global news flow. However, there is a systemic truth that few mention titles within a dynasty are not mere ornaments to be possessed. They are the very breath of tradition. When direct blood ties are no longer the sole basis, the distinction between heir and companion becomes more pronounced than ever in ancient ceremonial rules. While the world is preoccupied with analyzing dramatic interviews and memoirs in London, a new blueprint for the monarchy is emerging. These are not petty debates. This is the transformation of an institution to adapt to the 21st century. With a single signature, the structure of a millennia-old heritage can be rewritten, discarding elements no longer relevant to safeguard the overall existence. Will individual freedom or family duty prevail on this chessboard of power? The answer lies in patience, for in the game of dynasties, the winner is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the last one standing when the spotlight fades. While the outside world is awash in sensational headlines behind the solid oak doors of Kensington and Clarence House, a different script is being rewritten. No cameras, no bombastic pronouncements, just strategic records and quiet discussions that have dragged on for years. To understand what is truly happening, we must look into the intellectual divide between the two generations of top leadership, the current crown holder and his successor. King Charles, as a conciliatory father and monarch, always believed in second chances. His philosophy was one of tolerance, an attempt to mend rifts with afternoon tea and patience. He saw the prodigal sons, but Prince William saw the systemic risks. William arrived at a far more stoic and realistic conclusion. Institutions cannot exist based on emotions. In the eyes of the successor, protecting the millennia-old heritage is the ultimate priority, transcending all personal feelings. What is being quietly built is not a plan for revenge, but rather a self-defense mechanism. William understood that when a name tied to traditional values is used as a commercial tool, from podcasts to book covers, its sanctity is eroded. The precedent was there. What had happened to previous members of the family was proof of the system's resolve. This wasn't revenge, but a revolution. Necessary surgery to ensure the purity of future leadership. There was a pivotal moment in those private conversations where William bluntly pointed out that ill-timed benevolence could become a vulnerability for widespread instability. He believed that to protect the monarchy from media attacks and destructive revelations, they could not continue to remain silent in the old ways. This contrast created tremendous pressure on all parties involved. Across the ocean, resistance was understandable, for when symbols of power are shaken, the structure of personal influence crumbles with them. The history of monarchies has always been a process of purification for survival. William is playing a game of chess where he has already moved many steps ahead. This is a battle between one side that wants to preserve unity through affection and the other that wants to maintain dignity through discipline. Ultimately, time will tell, can an institution survive if it does not dare to let go of the parts that are no longer compatible. We are drawing closer to the point where the line between family unity and the survival of an institution becomes clearer than ever. King Charles, with the heart of a father, sees the cracks that need to be filled with kindness. He sees individuals' memories and hopes for reconciliation. But on the opposite side, Prince William sees a system error. In the successor's thinking, this is not a matter of emotion, but a model being exploited. eroding the foundations built over thousands of years of history. Construction workers. Construction. William isn't waiting for the future. He's shaping it right now. Behind the velvet curtains lies a strategic council, not a group of fleeting crisis management experts, but constitutional historians and masters of political science. They are the ones who understand the concept to its core. Authority. Their mission to draft a comprehensive framework to protect the monarchy from the upheavals of the new era. This wasn't an immediate response to a documentary or a memoir, but a complete overhaul of the British royal operating system. A new charter is gradually emerging with non-negotiable rules. William wants to eliminate the ambiguity that has existed for too long. He aims for a system where titles and privileges are not gifts of blood, but rewards of service. The line will be redrawn sharply. You cannot simultaneously possess the dignity of a national symbol and freely operate it as a personal brand in the commercial market. If you choose independence and glamorous contracts, that's your right, but you will no longer be part of the symbol machine. William's plan was revolutionary because it shifted power back to the incumbent monarch through clear legal mechanisms. The decision of who stayed and who left would not be based on anger or personal feelings, but on a single criterion: commitment. This has been done historically for individuals who damage the public goodwill, and now it's been standardized into an operating procedure. Once you step outside to pursue your own values, you'll have to shed the protective coat of royalty. This battle isn't just about titles on paper, but about redefining what it means to be a member of royalty in the 21st century. William is building a legal fortress to ensure that whoever comes and goes, the institution will remain. As the spotlight fades, what remains is not personal squabbles, but a purified system ready for the challenges of the future. In the philosophy of ancient dynasties, there is a harsh truth. When you step through the gates to seek personal freedom, the glory of the institution will not follow you. Remember, in the philosophy of thousand-year dynasties, once you choose to step outside in search of freedom, the halo of heritage will never follow you. Facing these cold yet visionary maneuvers, how do you feel about Prince William's actions? If you support this decisiveness and believe it is a vital step to protect the legacy, leave a number 2 in the comments. If you feel these rules are too harsh and lack compassion for family, leave a number 5. We look forward to seeing your choice in the comments below. Prince William's entire vision is encapsulated in one powerful idea. If a symbol belonged to everyone, it would lose its meaning to everyone. The power of a dynasty lies in its uniqueness. Once its noble title is juxtaposed with consumer goods or social media posts, its sacred value vanishes. A constitutional legacy turned into an entertainment accessory. William did not act out of anger or personal vendetta. He is acting as a strategist, looking 50, 100, or even 200 years into the future. The question he is asking is not how to please all family members, but rather, what does this institution need to survive in the future? His answer was the limitations. The boundaries were clear, strictly enforced, and non-negotiable. To achieve this, a strategic brain was established, drawing on models from Nordic monarchies such as Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands, places that successfully modernized by streamlining their bureaucracy and redefining the value of service. This is the biggest difference between the present and the past. While King Charles always sought a compromise, a balance between family ties and responsibility, William's approach was binary, in or out. According to him, this is not a family company where members can join or withdraw according to their personal lifestyles. It is an institution with a supreme purpose. All participants must be fully committed or completely separate. There is no room for half-hearted solutions where people want to enjoy the privileges of the crown while simultaneously pursuing private commercial deals. In the face of attempts to maintain power through legal means or media, the new system William is building is creating a constitutional fortress. When rules are codified and based on the principle of service, any individual resistance becomes insignificant in the face of institutional weight. The truth is, the world may change, but the essence of monarchical authority always demands a sacrifice of the ego for the common good. We are witnessing the birth of a new era, an era where glory is not measured by media fame, but by unwavering adherence to core values. William is proving that to protect a crown, sometimes one must learn to say no decisively, because ultimately only what is truly pure can endure the test of time. There is a truth that the media often overlooks: glittering titles never belong to a specific individual. They are not inherited property or permanent possessions. In the structure of the British monarchy, every title is borrowed from the throne. When the connection to the source of power is shaken, those titles can return to where they originated. This is not a typical property dispute, but the reclamation of constitutional symbols. In the world of administrative procedures, there is a term that sounds dry but carries immense weight: letters patent, royal patent. Don't let the name fool you. This is essentially a supreme executive decree of the monarch. No noisy parliamentary votes, no complicated referendums. With just a carefully drafted document and the signature of the head of the monarchy, the entire power structure, the order of succession, and royal membership can be fundamentally altered. This is the most powerful tool, allowing the king to redefine his common home in an instant. To understand this power, we must go back in time to 1917. Amidst the upheavals of the era, King George V recognized a paradox: the proliferation of titles was diluting the value of the royal family. Distant relatives' branches, no longer contributing to the common good, were still holding these prestigious titles. With historical determination, he issued a decree to narrow the list of those called prince and princess. This was not personal animosity, but a campaign, refining symbols to protect the prestige of the Windsor family. History is witnessing a repetition of that mindset in the new era. Amidst speculation about legal battles or intentions of resistance, there is an invisible but solid barrier: royal privileges. Once a decree has been issued based on long-standing constitutional rules, any individual attempts at litigation are often rendered ineffective against the will of the monarchy. Disputes over names or membership are no longer matters of emotion, but of formal legal documents. A lack of understanding of these mechanisms sometimes leads to illusions of power that are unrealistically impossible to fulfill. Eventually, the media frenzy would die down, leaving only the archived documents in the National Archives. William and his strategic council understood power lay not in debate, but in wielding the pen that wrote the rules. Once the decree was signed, history would turn a new page, and those who failed to adapt to the new rules would become mere footnotes in the flow of time. In the world of long-established institutions, seismic changes rarely came from public debates or noisy elections. It comes from the stillness of the pen. A group of people might be considered representatives of a dynasty in the morning, but by afternoon that position may be a thing of the past. This is the privilege of supremacy. No approval needed, just a signed decision, and the course of history will change. Many sources suggest that a strategic update lies in the archives of Kensington Palace, awaiting its moment of realization. This draft carries a simple yet revolutionary message. Titles are associated with dedication. Only those who are truly present and serve the institution full-time are allowed to wear the official emblems. The rest will be returned to the warmth of their families, but no longer as representatives of the nation. This is a step aimed at protecting the rarity and value of the royal brand in the 21st century. Imagine the power of a title. For individuals who have built entire personal empires on a single word such as Duchess, stripping them of official recognition is a devastating blow. Identity reconstruction thoroughly. When institutional backing disappears, that title is no longer a magic key to unlocking doors of power or multi-million-dollar contracts. It becomes a ceremonial title lacking the weight of legitimacy. In the world of high-level partnerships, the difference between official representative and related party is a chasm of value. Every speech, every production project, or every international event we see largely revolves around royal appearances. But what happens when the energy supplying that aura is cut off? When an individual abandons their status to seek independence, they inadvertently put themselves to a harsh market test. Is personal value great enough to survive without the shadow of the crown? William understood this better than anyone. He didn't need to fight. He simply needed to clarify the boundaries. Look at what has been built. From audio programs called archetypes to literary works signed with a prestigious title. In the world of influence, every speech, every appearance, and every branding deal is anchored to a single pillar of support. Title. It's not just a name, it's a master key that unlocks doors that an ordinary celebrity could hardly reach. But what happens if that support suddenly disappears? Imagine a new reality when the signboards at international events only display a personal name without the backing of a crown. The entertainment world is inherently pragmatic in its calculations of value. They don't just pay for fame, they pay for value, exclusive and legitimate. Without those sacred words, would the allure remain intact? Fame may be brilliant, but it is often fleeting, while an institution thousands of years old possesses the power of permanence. When the radiance is cut off from its roots, the foundation of an entire personal empire will begin to show cracks in its values. Prince William did not act in ambiguity. He had deeply studied how neighboring dynasties adapted to the times. One particular case caught his attention: Queen Margrethe II's decisiveness in Denmark. With a single statement, she streamlined the monarchy by revoking the titles of her own nephews. Her reasoning was clear. The monarchy needed clarity of roles, not the chaos of symbols without accountability. William observed how the world reacted, how public opinion stabilized, and how the Danish monarchy became lean and stable. It's definitely better after that surgery. The confidence of the British heir to the throne stems from understanding that preserving a great heritage sometimes requires making difficult decisions. Restructuring doesn't necessarily have to be a dramatic face-to-face confrontation. It can unfold quietly through official channels, yet its impact can be transformative. When the rules of legitimacy are enforced, the line between a person of royal lineage and one media star, it will become unmistakable. History has proven that the longest-lasting institutions are not the most rigid, but those that adapt before being forced to. Prince William learned a valuable lesson from the northern dynasties. Decisiveness doesn't need to be accompanied by noise. In Denmark, a symbolic transfer of power took place quietly, decisively, and without compromise. The goal wasn't to please everyone, but to protect the centralization and transparency of the royal family. When the lines are redrawn, the gray area of privileges without accompanying responsibilities will be completely eliminated. While London is quietly building a legal fortress across the Atlantic, alarm bells have begun to ring. Terms like restructuring or title reform are no longer whispers in palace corridors, but have become an existential threat to a functioning media empire. Realizing that their foundation depended entirely on their connection with the royal court, a bold strategy was devised, commercializing the sacred. The idea of turning a royal title into a trademark began to take shape, an attempt to transform national heritage into corporate assets existing independently of the will of the crown. This was an unprecedented confrontation in history. One side viewed the title as service to the Constitution. One side considers it as brand identity. If a title is registered as intellectual property, it becomes a business tool, a legal entity beyond the control of the monarchy. But can a signature on commercial paper replace the weight of thousands of years of tradition? William and his constitutional experts are facing a thorny question. How can we prevent the transformation of a national symbol into a personal marketing tool without creating a global legal crisis? William understood that the power of the monarchy lay in its monopoly on legitimacy. Once you allow a family member to privatize a title for commercial purposes, you inadvertently open the door to the disintegration of the symbol. His answer remained consistent clarity. There are no middle ground. You can't be both a businessman running a global brand and a representative of the monarchy. This separation is necessary to protect public trust and the sanctity of the heritage. This battle isn't just about titles on book covers or podcasts. It's a battle to redefine the value of honor in the 21st century. When strategic plans clash with commercial ambitions, what ultimately remains will be what is most authentic. History will remember those who dared to draw painful lines to protect the whole, rather than those who sought to possess a piece of the spotlight for themselves. In the game of symbols, the final piece always belongs to the one who holds the power of legitimacy. In an attempt to secure the future, a purely commercial idea was proposed, trademarking a royal title. The goal was clear: to transform a noble title into a business asset, a brand that could be protected by civil law. However, in the world of monarchies, applying a checkerboard mentality to a national-level chess game was a systemic mistake. They forgot that only the crown has the right to decide what belongs to it. Before the initial paperwork was even completed, the palace was a step ahead. Without any public debate, Prince William's advisors had established a legal, protective perimeter. They had quietly activated stringent regulations regarding the use of the royal title for commercial purposes. All escape routes were blocked, all loopholes closed. This was not an immediate reaction, but the result of a methodological study by leading historians and strategists. The message from Kensington Palace was very strong: the crown of bestowal and the crown of control. You can't take a piece of an institution, take it out into the world, and turn it into a personal business tool. William demonstrated a completely new style of leadership far removed from the diplomatic finesse of the previous generation. He didn't seek compromise. He redrawn the lines with permanent ink where there was no room for alternatives or half-hearted negotiations. Most remarkably, William's team didn't need to create new rules. They simply activated rituals and precedents that had existed for centuries. By deeply understanding the existing system, they transformed ancient rules into the most powerful modern tools. They were prepared for every situation, every reaction, and every legal loophole. While their opponents were still grappling with the concept of trademarks, the dynasty had already asserted ultimate ownership of its own history. Throughout a millennium, the monarchy has faced countless tests of power. Every time it was challenged, the system did not collapse, but instead gave rise to new self-defense mechanisms. What Prince William is currently implementing is, in essence, a renaissance of old values within a modern context. Without needing to invent new laws, he and his team are simply dusting off long-standing protocols, rules that had been forgotten but still carry the primal weight of legitimacy. This approach possesses a brilliant strategic quality. Change is not presented as an act of punishment or a personal confrontation, but rather as a process of transformation, modernization, and streamlining. Who can object to clarity? Who can resist making an institution more transparent and fit for the 21st century? By firmly linking every decision to the flow of tradition, William created an impenetrable shield. You cannot challenge an institution when it is operating according to the very rules that have sustained its existence for generations. After years of turmoil and relentless media attention, the palace is now enveloped in a completely different atmosphere: confident stillness. The defensive, passive attitude has vanished, replaced by a proactive and visionary demeanor. Even the most discerning observers must acknowledge that this is a strategic move at the highest level. There are no more public debates, no more emotionally charged counter-messages. The institution has chosen a dignified silence as its response to all the external noise. William has proven that he is no longer someone waiting for his turn. He is truly leading and reshaping the monarchy right now. With his dignity above the noise mindset, he has transformed challenges into opportunities to renew the entire system. His patience and methodology have created a sharper, more focused, and more purposeful entity. While personal stories continue to unfold in the newspapers under changed conditions, the crown has completed its self-purification to stand firm against the tide of time. When the oak doors close and the mystique of royalty is no longer included as part of the brand's gift package, an existential question arises. Where does the true value of an individual lie when separated from the cradle of institution? In the chambers of power of the elite, what remains of the invitation, when the strength of millennia of history is no longer a foundation? This is not a personal attack, but a harsh test of self-reliance. The crown doesn't need to be destroyed because it possesses the most powerful weapon, time and evolution. It doesn't need dramatic confrontations or noisy acts of retaliation. Instead, it chooses to adapt, using the very systems that have sustained its position for 10 centuries to address modern challenges. This is the operation of a machine refined by blood and fire, knowing how to turn every upheaval into a springboard for survival. While the world was captivated by the hype and sensational headlines, a long-term game was underway. William and his strategic team proved an enduring truth. Real power doesn't belong to the person who speaks the loudest in the room, but to the person who understands the system best. They aren't building sandcastles on media, they're forging foundations of steel. The heir's confidence doesn't come from fleeting fame, but from mastering the operational codes of an empire that will never sink. The crown doesn't need to destroy anyone. It just needs to patiently wait until the rules of the institution fulfill their mission. Now the moment of waiting has ended. The plan of the chief architect, the one who holds power in the shadows of silence, is gradually becoming a reality. A new era has begun where legitimacy is paramount, and what doesn't belong to the foundation will automatically be filtered out by the currents of history. Ultimately, the biggest question remains: as the borrowed glory of the crown fades, what will truly remain behind the titles? The British monarchy doesn't need to speak out to assert its power. It simply lets the system operate according to the iron laws of history. Prince William has proven that in the game of symbols, the winner isn't the one who makes the most noise, but the one who knows how to preserve legitimacy amidst the storms of the times. Is this a necessary reconstruction to protect a millennium-old heritage, or a harsh step for those who have chosen their own path? We'd really love to hear your perspective. Do you side with King Charles's tolerance, or do you support Prince William's steel discipline? This is for reference only based on unverified hypotheses, rumors, and public opinion. Let's discuss this from an objective analytical standpoint. Don't just sit there, interact with me. Press 1 for curiosity and 0 for skepticism. Hit like and subscribe so we can uncover the truth behind the curtains together. Within the operating mechanism of one of the world's oldest institutions, each member is not merely an individual, but a systemic anchor. Recently, observers have begun to question whether a form of turbulence is emerging in the flow of power at Buckingham Palace. Some hypotheses suggest that a quiet shift in influence may be taking place between Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton. Are the so-called tensions highlighted by the media simply personal jealousy, or are they the outcome of a power algorithm designed to re-establish order in a new era? When a new symbol of devotion begins to rise, how does the old system respond in order to preserve its position? In historical analysis, there is a concept known as the weight of choice. Unverified sources are now sketching a picture of deep internal reflection within King Charles III himself. Rumors speak of silent confessions not expressed in writing, but revealed through decisions that subtly alter the trajectory of the monarchy. If the hypotheses about regret are true, are we witnessing an attempt at internal systemic purification? Could it be that behind the splendor of ritual, the king is confronting a psychological struggle between dynastic duty and personal legacy? A deeper truth seems to be emerging, one that suggests the unresolved knots of the past, from the symbolic marriage to Princess Diana to his enduring love for Camilla, have become decisive variables shaping the future of the throne. Looking back at the milestone of 1981, when 750 million people witnessed a fairy tale wedding, the system at the time projected an illusion of perfection. Yet from an investigative perspective, it may have been the starting point of a chain of errors that lasted for decades. When traditional values collided with modern emotional needs, the royal structure revealed fractures that no glossy veneer could conceal forever. Charles, standing at the crossroads of two historical currents, may understand better than anyone that a crown is not forged from gold alone, but tempered by sacrifices that cannot be undone. We are standing at the threshold of a new chapter, where history seems to be rewritten through whispers from within the palace itself. Are the events we witness merely the visible tip of an iceberg beneath which the private choices of one man have the power to unsettle an entire empire? In your view, does the future stability of the British royal family depend on preserving tradition or on having the courage to confront the miscalculations of the past? Share your perspective from the standpoint of a systems analyst in the comments below. History never truly disappears. It merely transforms from one form into another. Systems analysts often refer to a concept known as echoing legacy. The departure of a humanitarian icon in the past left a profound void in the monarchy's operating algorithm. That warmth and boundless ability to connect inadvertently established a new benchmark for anyone aspiring to step into leadership. And there we see the emergence of Kate Middleton, regarded as the ideal variable to decode this equation. D. Is her rise not simply the result of public affection, but rather because she has successfully integrated the source code of grace and compassion into a system known for its rigidity? Since the milestone of September 2022, when a new title was conferred, we have witnessed a surge in what could be called a social resonance index. Kate is no longer merely playing the role of a royal family member. She is increasingly perceived as a symbol of balance. Unlike traditionally distant images, her approach to issues such as mental health and early childhood education has created a sense of direct connection with the public. This raises a fundamental question. When an individual becomes too prominent and commands overwhelming public trust, does it inadvertently create a phase shift within the established hierarchy of power? This is where the narrative grows more complex. In a system where every position carries its own weight, the radiant rise of a new star can cast shadows over other roles. Some viewpoints suggest that the public's near-absolute admiration for Kate has generated a form of systemic psychological pressure. Speculation about dissatisfaction on the part of Queen Camilla has begun to surface in the form of hypotheses about strategic jealousy. Could this be a natural response of an established structure when it senses its influence narrowing? Even King Charles III is said to have noticed this shift. Is his composure a sign of tacit consent, or a careful observation of a future in which the universal appeal of the heir might eclipse the role of the reigning crown? Are we witnessing a gentle transfer of soft power, or a quiet struggle to preserve standing in the public's heart? If the universal appeal of a single individual can reshape an entire institution, will the monarchy evolve to adapt to Kate Middleton? Or will the system attempt to recalibrate her radiance in order to preserve the old order? If the monarchy is viewed as a vast machine, Kate Middleton appears to have discovered a new source code for operating it. Observers suggest that she is not merely a royal family member, but a transitional zone where regal refinement is blended with the emotional frequency of the modern public. Her rise since 2011 has not been accidental. It is the result of a sustained process of synchronization, preserving the necessary conservatism of a future queen while simultaneously creating an accessible interface. She is not distant. She has become a symbol of stability in a volatile world. In contrast, Queen Camilla's journey can be likened to swimming against the current within a system burdened by legacy errors. Although the coronation on May 6, 2023 officially formalized her position, it has yet to fully erase the lingering noise variables carried over from the past. Within Buckingham's power matrix, one pivotal navigation hub cannot be overlooked: Prince William. If King Charles III is striving to keep the current machinery running, William is quietly rewriting the source code for the future. His unwavering support for Princess Kate is not merely marital affection, but a strategy of synchronization. William understands that for the institution to avoid obsolescence, it needs an interface capable of strong interaction with the public. Yet this alignment has inadvertently created a clear generational distance between their camp and Queen Camilla. Under an investigative lens, the relationship between William and his stepmother Camilla has long been regarded as a sensitive data zone. While the outward appearance remains one of ceremonial respect, analysts suggest that William is implementing a form of historical isolation protocol. He shields Kate from the gravitational pull of the past while simultaneously establishing a new center of power at Kensington Palace, one where Kate's influence is optimized without requiring validation from the old system. Does this separation represent preparation for a decisive transfer of power? Or is it the spark that could ignite internal fragmentation? One hypothesis suggests that in the public mind, Princess Diana is not a historical figure who has passed, but an immutable constant. Her presence is so powerful that it creates a filter of bias through which every charitable effort and every act of dedication by Camilla must pass. Despite her tireless work to reposition her personal image, the malware of 1990s media headlines still resurfaces from time to time, disrupting the social system's process of acceptance. The disparity in approval ratings between Kate and Camilla has created a dynamic that analysts describe as a symbolic energy imbalance. On one side stands Kate, the embodiment of a fresh, untarnished beginning filled with promise. On the other is Camilla, the embodiment of perseverance, yet one forever associated with the fractures of the past. Could the rumored jealousy, if it exists, actually be the resistance of an old system confronted by the overwhelming radiance of a new system? As Kate effortlessly captures the hearts of millions, Camilla's decades-long efforts suddenly appear more muted than ever before. This may not be merely a matter of personal emotion, but rather an imbalance in symbolic stock value within the public consciousness. When the world witnessed the close of an era on September 8, 2022, the royal system did not only lose a monarch, it lost a defining identity constant. The passing of Queen Elizabeth II left an immense symbolic vacuum. Yet in analyzing the new variables, observers have noted a curious phenomenon, a remarkable synchronization. Kate Middleton appears to carry a kind of spiritual genetic code that resonates with both the late Queen and Princess Diana. Could her remarkable rise stem not merely from appearance, but from her role as a safe buffer zone where rigid tradition is softened by modern sincerity? When she engages with children or speaks openly about mental health, the system itself seems to recalibrate, becoming more compatible with the 21st century. Within a strictly hierarchical mechanism, the radiance of a satellite can sometimes overshadow the center. Quiet hypotheses are now circulating about underlying tensions in the relationship between Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales. Under an investigative lens, we see a stark contrast. On one side is Camilla, who has been working persistently to consolidate her position after decades spent in the turbulent zone of old tabloid controversies. On the other is Kate, who appears to have captured the public's trust market share almost entirely. Could the jealousy rumored by the media actually be a form of system-protective reaction? As Kate's influence begins to extend beyond the boundaries of protocol, it inadvertently casts a shadow zone over the Queen's official role. Some unverified sources suggest that Kate's ease in winning over younger generations is creating an invisible pressure on those currently bearing the responsibilities of leadership. The relationship between Camilla and Kate is not merely a mother-in-law/daughter-in-law story, but a collision between two existential mindsets. Camilla represents the persistence of rebuilding a legacy from the ruins of the past, while Kate embodies a future that appears unblemished. Kate's meteoric rise in popularity since September 2022 seems to have sent a powerful message to Buckingham Palace. Real power does not lie in titles but in emotional resonance with the public. This places King Charles III in a difficult position at the helm of a ship guided by two lighthouses shining at once, yet emitting entirely different frequencies of light. Within an institution where speech is tightly controlled, the British royal family relies on a different communication protocol: visual sign language. Every outfit worn by Kate Middleton or Camilla is not merely a fashion choice, but a data packet transmitted directly to the public. Kate Middleton consistently employs color palettes and accessories that are heritage compatible. Her decision to re-wear jewelry belonging to Princess Diana or Queen Elizabeth II functions as a powerful act of identity authentication. It signals to the social system, "I am the legitimate continuation of the most beloved values." By contrast, Queen Camilla opts for a restrained style, at times deliberately receding into the background to minimize visual conflicts with the past. Yet this very contrast produces an unintended effect. While Kate shines like a beam of modern blue light, Camilla is inadvertently pushed into the shadow of old memories. Analysts have begun to ask, is Kate's repeated activation of Diana's memory through fashion a psychological strategy to maintain an advantage in the battle for public support? A wordless yet weighty reminder of one lingering question: who truly holds the soul of the crown? The power system at Buckingham is witnessing a quiet reordering. Kate Middleton appears to have successfully decoded the source code of warmth and compassion, the legacy left behind by a past icon, to construct an unblemished model for the future. By contrast, Queen Camilla is still striving to process the historical errors of the past in her search for full acceptance. A hypothesis emerges. Is Kate's extraordinary radiance the driving force that helps the monarchy adapt to a new era, or does it inadvertently become a shadow zone that eclipses the existing traditional order? When public trust becomes the unit by which power is measured, who truly holds the key to the empire? Faced with this shifting landscape of symbols, what are your thoughts on the figure currently commanding the media spotlight? Leave 2 if you support renewal and the influence of a future-oriented symbol. Leave 5 if you believe the old order deserves to be preserved and respected. Hit like and subscribe now, so you don't miss upcoming deep dives and bold hypotheses uncovering the secrets behind the crown. Since the historical pivot shifted in September 2022, the monarchy has not only witnessed a change of reign, but also a sweeping restructuring of image. Kate Middleton no longer appears as a supporting figure. She has become a core node in the algorithm of the new operating system. Through an analytical lens, her rise is far more than the execution of duty. It is a process of value redefinition. By connecting with all layers of society through initiatives on mental health and early childhood development, Kate has inadvertently established a modern interface for an institution long perceived as distant and out of touch. See. Many hypotheses suggest that she is precisely the solution, allowing this system to remain compatible with Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Yet every shift generates friction. Astute observers have detected a subtle emotional frequency mismatch within the stone walls of the palace. Although King Charles III has formally established Queen Camilla's position behavioral data point to an invisible distance between her and the future symbol that is Kate Middleton. This restraint is believed to stem not from personal conflict, but from the lingering presence of an old legacy code. Princess Diana, though long gone, continues to exist as an eternal constant in the public consciousness. When Kate displays grace and compassion, the system immediately recognizes her as the true heir to that energy source. This gives rise to a systemic paradox: who holds the title and who truly holds the soul of the monarchy? While Camilla has spent decades attempting to repair fractures in public trust, Kate's radiant and seemingly effortless presence appears to have created a new reference pressure. There are hypotheses of a covert struggle for recognition, where every gesture and every glance becomes a chess piece on the board of soft power. The absence of warmth between these two most powerful figures may well be a sign of a self-adjusting system recalibrating itself in response to variables from the past and expectations for the future. In a system where public attention is treated as the primary fuel source, the surge of the Kate frequency has generated a phenomenon observers describe as light dominance. Queen Camilla, who has spent decades relentlessly rebuilding her image from the shattered fragments of her past, is now facing an unpredictable variable. Unverified sources are sketching out a so-called covert campaign behind the scenes. Rather than challenging directly, there are theories suggesting that Camilla is implementing a repositioning at the center strategy, enhancing her presence at high-profile events and further tightening the symbolic bond with King Charles III. Is this an effort to remind the system where the official crown still resides? A detail that stands out in this investigation is the reaction of King Charles III, the control center of the system. There are rumors circulating within the palace halls that the king has noticed the shift in this soft power dynamic. A bold hypothesis arises. Have there been private conversations of strategic realignment, where the king urged adaptation to the irreversible flow? In the modern world, a monarchy cannot survive without the resonance of the youth, where Kate Middleton holds an unrivaled position. Camilla's existence is the constant of duty, but Kate's rise is the variable of survival. Camilla is not simply sharing the spotlight. She may be striving not to be reduced to a blurred point in the future picture. Her subtle moves, from aligning with key social causes to demonstrating unwavering solidarity with the king, could be seen as executive orders to protect her position as consort queen. However, the big question remains, as an ideal figure like Kate, regarded as the spiritual heir to the greatest legacies, continues to shine, will all efforts to reinforce the traditional position become futile? King Charles III has spent nearly a century preparing for the moment of receiving the crown, yet it seems there was no ceremonial curriculum to prepare him for this internal turbulence. Observers note that the king finds himself caught between a chessboard where the responsibility to the dynasty collides head-on with complex emotional variables. An underground battle is believed to be taking place between the two most important satellites of the throne, the traditional stability of Queen Camilla and the modern appeal of Duchess Kate Middleton. Is this simply a matter of personal jealousy? Or is it a natural rejection reaction of an old system in the face of such a perfect entity? The most astonishing element in this investigation is the emergence of a historical constant, Princess Diana. Though decades have passed, her legacy has not disappeared, but seems to be re-encoded through Kate Middleton. Kate is not merely fulfilling duties. She is emitting the same energy frequency that Diana once possessed: warmth, an ability to connect without barriers, and a naturally graceful demeanor. Kate's rise is like a mirror unintentionally bringing to life memories that the royal system had once tried to close. For King Charles, Kate's fame may be a comfort, but it is also a painful reminder of the historical missteps that cannot be corrected. Charles is facing the hardest task of his royal life, maintaining balance in a system that is emotionally fractured. On one side is his partner Camilla, who has weathered public storms with him to establish their current position. On the other side is the new face of the nation, who carries the responsibility of ushering the royal family into the modern era. Z. Experts analyzing the system propose a hypothesis. Could the king's silence be a sign of a peaceful settlement, or is he quietly accepting the truth that history is repeating itself in a more subtle way? Queen Camilla's journey could be likened to a solitary expedition to re-establish her position from negative ground. For decades, she has had to operate in a rejection system, where every step she took was shadowed by public prejudice and contempt. And just when she believed she had reached the balance of recognition, a new variable emerged. Kate Middleton's rise is not just a typical ascent. It creates a halo effect that overshadows. Insider sources have begun to sketch out a heightened sense of vigilance. Is there an underlying resentment when witnessing a younger figure effortlessly claim the emotional market share that she has spent her entire life fighting to build? King Charles III currently stands at the center of a reflective vortex. He is not only governing a kingdom but also trying to manage the emotional cracks within his own family. His efforts to reassure Camilla seem to be nothing more than a facade for a deeper skepticism. Does true trust really exist when the ghosts of the past have never truly left? Through the lens of investigation, a haunting hypothesis arises. In moments of stillness, is the king silently conducting his own historical interrogation? As Charles observes how Kate Middleton operates the system with such excellence and natural grace, he may be seeing the reflection of the Diana constant, someone whose power of compassion he once failed to decode. Could this eerie similarity have sparked an equation of regret, the awareness of an irreparable loss, now manifesting in his very own successor? The monarchy does not fear change, but it fears internal division. Charles knows better than anyone that any misalignment between Camilla and Kate could lead to a widespread image crisis. He is forced to play the role of a coordinator of the flow of power, trying to keep the fire of jealousy from burning down the stability he has worked so hard to build. Faced with the disparity in symbolic energy, King Charles III has implemented a governance strategy that experts call calculated harmony. He is deeply aware that the monarchy's survival in the digital age depends on the Kate variable, but its internal stability lies in the Camilla axis. By orchestrating these carefully crafted joint appearances, the king is attempting to send a message of unity. However, behind these perfectly framed moments, insider sources still detect areas of disturbance. This is not just about positioning. It is a desperate effort to prevent a crisis of trust from erupting if one of the two satellites feels their orbit is off. A significant shift is taking place in the structure of responsibility. Kate Middleton has been entrusted with more strategically important duties. She is no longer merely a domestic icon. She has ascended to become the international face of the monarchy. Kate's presence alongside world leaders and her leadership at state events serve as a profound testament that the system is betting on her charisma to maintain its relevance in the modern world. However, every stride Kate takes inadvertently creates a pressure of obsolescence on Queen Camilla's role. As one side emerges as the definitive symbol of the future, the other is easily labeled as a vestige of a bygone era. She is no longer just a domestic symbol. She has become the international representative face. Kate's appearances alongside world leaders and her leadership in state-level events serve as evidence that the system is betting on her appeal to maintain its connection with the modern world. However, each of Kate's advances inadvertently creates a rejection pressure on the role of Queen Camilla. When one side becomes the symbol of the future, the other is easily labeled as the remnant of an old era. We stand on the threshold of one of the most crucial variables in the contemporary history of Buckingham Palace. For decades, King Charles III has operated a steadfast strategy, protecting at all costs the presence of Queen Camilla, who has stood by him through the harshest public storms to establish a legitimate position. Yet as he ascends to the peak of power, he now faces a more unforgiving reality than the controversies of the past. Through the lens of system analysis, a deep contradiction is emerging within the monarchy's inner core. On one hand, there is loyalty to the past, and on the other, the survival of a 1,000-year-old institution. Kate Middleton appears not just as a royal family member, but as a lifeline algorithm. Could it be that the very qualities once considered dangerous to the old order, the natural brilliance and intense magnetism of Princess Diana, are now the source code that can help the monarchy align with the modern world? Kate's rise on the international stage is not just a diplomatic mission. It is a dramatic transfer of soft power. As her influence reaches an irreplaceable level, a massive shadow has inadvertently been cast over Camilla's efforts to solidify her position. Charles now finds himself in a dilemma. Can he maintain the balance between one side being the constant of emotional ties and the other being the variable of survival? The underlying tension within the palace is likened to simmering lava beneath the glossy surface of ceremonial grandeur. When dissatisfaction reaches its tipping point and the public's admiration is concentrated on one side, the system will inevitably undergo a self-correction. It will be the moment when Charles must make a fateful decision. Continue to protect the old order or bravely embrace a new future where the shadows of the past once again hold the crown far. This is not just a personal confrontation, but a puzzle about the survival of an empire in the new era. The truth is likely still being written behind the closed doors of the palace, where every choice comes with its cost. This is merely for reference based on hypotheses and unverified public rumors/opinions. Let's discuss this matter from an objective analytical standpoint. Don't sit still. Let me know your reaction. Press 1 for curiosity and a desire to explore more. Press 0 for cautious skepticism. Hit like and subscribe now to join me in uncovering the mysteries behind the London, early 2026. Before the first rays of sunlight reached Big Ben, a strange atmosphere seemed to envelop Clarence House. Unverified information was stirring up public opinion about a pivotal decision that could change the course of one of the world's most prestigious families. Instead of the usual social news, insiders were questioning the temporary suspension of an inheritance distribution process related to Princess Diana's estate. Was this merely a simple administrative procedure or the activation of a protective mechanism established decades earlier? In the world of strict royal rules, the existence of a sealed will has always been the subject of speculation. An abstract concept has begun to emerge: the third clause. According to several theories put forward by analysts, this clause doesn't focus on political upheavals or media attention, but rather seems to point to a more fundamental value: the integrity of the lineage. If this scenario is true, then activating it signals that the institution is facing a potentially structurally destabilizing event rather than just a media frenzy. All attention is now focused on a shocking theory, the emergence of a 29-year-old woman referred to online by mysterious initials. Is there a connection between the present and the late 1990s, when personal secrets were often obscured by the glitz and glamour of the stage? Unofficial sources suggest that a handwritten letter from 1996, allegedly from the late princess, unexpectedly surfaced after an internal audit. If the rumors are true, that letter contains prophecies of divided bloodlines and a crown shaken by seduction. This is a dramatic fictional scenario, a mother seeking to protect her children from dangers she foresaw decades ago. While London is reeling from legal scrutiny in West Hollywood, tense moments seem to be unfolding between the main characters of this story. Images of a thick stack of documents and stunned faces have left the public wondering, is it time for a long dormant truth to be revealed? The silence from those involved often provides fertile ground for theories to develop. Could it be that a discreet settlement failed to reach a consensus, leading to the issuance of an asset freeze as a last resort? We are facing an investigation into traditional values, truth, and heritage. These are just pieces of a larger picture, and we have only seen the tip of the iceberg. Is this a necessary purge to protect legitimacy, or merely a compounding of misunderstandings within a family already fraught with turmoil, and in a world where information is constantly changing? Do you think the ultimate truth is as important as the choices we make about what we believe? Leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll analyze them further in the following developments. Amidst the media storm, a statement rang out, not with the clamor of a fame seeker, but with an unusually calm demeanor. The central figure in this controversy did not mention the crown, nor did she refer to the figures in the trust funds. Instead, she emphasized a fundamental human right, the right to know one's origins. The information circulating describes a decades-long quest for the truth. I just want the truth to be acknowledged. A simple statement, yet one that carries immense weight, capable of shaking even the most impregnable palace walls. In the age of technology, theories don't just remain words. Observers are buzzing about the existence of a document supposedly showing the results of genetic analysis from a renowned expert at UCLA. If the parameters of 99.98% similarity are accurate, we are no longer simply dealing with a fabricated story, but with a real threat. Biological evidence. It's very challenging. Why would such a crucial document surface at this sensitive time? Is it a mere coincidence of fate, or the result of a carefully planned effort to bring an old secret to light? The investigation takes us back in time to 1995 to 1996, a period when archivists and insiders were scrutinizing every millimeter of the protagonist's timeline. A ceremonial event in Chicago sealed files from ecclesiastical institutions in the Vatican. Theories suggest there were media lulls during this period, coinciding with the time a baby girl was allegedly born in Oak Park, Illinois. If we connect these ambiguities, a completely different picture of the past gradually emerges. It raises a major question about consistency in the public records of celebrities. Can we ever truly know everything about someone's past, no matter how long they've been in the spotlight? Deep within the sealed archives of the Vatican, there are reports suggesting the existence of a file from 1997, a request to revoke past commitments. Theories are circulating about the presence of an unidentified entity within these ecclesiastical documents. If these clues to the past are real, they are not simply old pages of paper. They pose a perplexing puzzle: moral trust and transparency. In the world of royal protocol and international law, inconsistencies between public records and personal reality can have consequences that extend far beyond a simple family dispute. It touches upon the very foundations of immigration regulations, prenuptial agreements, and the legitimacy of a long-standing institution. Deep within the sealed archives of the Vatican, there are rumors of a record from 1997, an application to annul past commitments. Theories are circulating about the presence of an unidentified element within these ecclesiastical documents. If these clues to the past are real, they are not simply old pages. They pose a perplexing puzzle: moral trust and transparency. In the world of royal protocol and international law, inconsistencies between public records and personal reality can have far-reaching consequences extending beyond a simple family dispute. It touches upon the very foundations of immigration regulations, prenuptial agreements, and the legitimacy of long-established institutions. Why is verifying ancestry so crucial? The answer likely lies in the spirit of third clause. This is part of Princess Diana's will. From a hypothetical analysis perspective, inheritance is not just about material possessions, but about the clarity of bloodline. Once doubt is sown, it has the potential to undermine the validity of any claims related to trust funds. This is no longer a battle of the present, but a battle to protect the authenticity of the lineage against unforeseen variables. On January 16th, a blurry video clip allegedly filmed at a West Hollywood cafe caused an online uproar. These images captured not just a conversation, but a fierce clash between two worldviews. Through analysis of body language, one side showed panic, while the other displayed extreme tension. The fragmented words are believed to have appeared in that space. The truth was there before it began. Good, the future of the next generation. While the authenticity of the conversation remains questionable, the emotions emanating from those frames are undeniable. Could the black file the woman carries be the key to unlocking the Diana Protection Fund, a fund currently frozen in a terrifying silence? The character codenamed AM, though never appearing directly on screen, has become the focus of a global investigation. We are witnessing the most serious legal and ethical reckoning in decades. Is this a perfectly orchestrated move to redefine power, or the inevitable resurgence of a truth that has been suppressed for too long? If you held the black file, would you choose to release it to seek justice, or keep it secret to protect the peace of a family? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and follow so we can get to the bottom of this investigation in the next part. In the corridors of British justice, a legal case has just been filed, not seeking glamorous titles or material compensation, but aiming for a more abstract goal: recognition of bloodline. If this request is granted, it will create an unprecedented precedent, placing a missing piece right at the heart of the royal succession diagram. The existence of the figure codenamed AM is not just a personal story. It is an entity capable of changing the entire trajectory of the Sussex family. The emergence of these streams of information seems to have created an emotional storm for those involved. There are reports of mental instability, self-reflection on the past, and doubts about the authenticity of seemingly predetermined events. Meanwhile, the absolute silence from the central figure Meghan Markle is being scrutinized by analysts. Is this a tactical move to observe her opponent, or is it confusion in the face of a truth that is gradually emerging? On January 17, 2026, a brief news item in the official Vatican newspaper attracted the attention of royal legal scholars. Despite being written in coded and cautious language, the announcement appears to confirm the preservation of documents relating to discussions from 1995 to 1996. Why would a powerful religious institution like the Vatican retain the spiritual anxieties of the late Princess Diana? Theories are connecting details about a blind Tibetan mystic and warnings about a turbulent future for Harry. Could what we are witnessing today have been foreseen over 30 years ago in a secret meeting between humanitarian groups? Faced with undeniable pressure, the Royal Medical Ethics Council appears to be considering a scenario previously considered impossible, demanding independent verification of biological records. This has been described as a last resort to protect the legitimacy of the royal institution. A truth-checking is underway where traditional values confront modern scientific evidence and prophecies from the past. We live in a time when history is no longer a collection of old pages, but a living entity demanding transparency. From secret Vatican files to a mother's handwritten letters worrying about her child, every path leads to one ultimate question: does truth always bring liberation? Or does it sometimes foreshadow a greater downfall? Do you believe in factual scientific evidence or spiritual warnings preserved for decades? Deep within royal history, the late Princess Diana's secret anxieties about what she called a divided lineage are often mentioned. There are theories that after her meeting with an Eastern mystic, she left behind two important documents. If one was kept by her loyal butler, the other is believed to have lain untouched in the apostolic archives in Rome for decades. The contents of the document, titled Secret Letters Sent Through the Air, are becoming the focus of speculation. The prophetic passages about outward appearances concealing true nature and those who attempt to grasp the crown without its bloodline are sending shivers down the spines of observers. Although the Holy See has not officially confirmed it, the recent opening of rare archives for legal investigations demonstrates the seriousness of the matter. The investigation appears to have extended beyond religious documents to include security matters. Sources suggest that special surveillance protocols have been set up to review the period from 1995 to 1998 in Meghan Markle's life, a period now considered a golden opportunity to unravel mysteries. What is being discovered has the potential to shake the entire media landscape of the Sussexes. The key point lies in a figure from Pennsylvania who is believed to have had a close connection with her in the mid-1990s. Has an old chapter in her life been forgotten, or is it shrouded in a thick fog of privacy? Why have rumors of a past ritual suddenly resurfaced so strongly? The answer likely lies not in ordinary civil records, but in forgotten papers within church institutions. Theories are centering on a request to annul a marriage commitment sealed in 1997 in Chicago. If these documents truly exist and confirm a contradictory lifestyle and the presence of previously undisclosed personal elements, it would completely alter the definition of transparency for modern members of royalty. We stand before a labyrinth of sealed files, prophecies from the past, and high-level security investigations. Each piece unearthed leads us to a deeper question of identity and truth. Should we believe what is presented on camera or the coded messages preserved in handwritten letters from 3 decades ago? If Diana's prophecies are true, are we witnessing the beginning of a downfall or a necessary purge for the future of the crown? According to the strict regulations of ecclesiastical law, sensitive files concerning influential figures are often forwarded to Rome for processing at the highest level. Among these documents, the existence of a confidentiality request is mentioned, a plea for the confidentiality of personal information, because those involved are likely to face the public eye. The issue here is not about the rightness or wrongness of a personal choice, but about the compatible with traditional rules. In the world of royalty, transparency is not just a virtue, but a legally binding requirement. If the pieces of the past, from marriage commitments to the presence of dependents, are not fully disclosed from the outset, it will create a legal domino effect directly impacting the constitutionality of current relationships and international residency procedures. A legal advisor once made a rather cryptic remark: "The issue isn't the shame, but the gaps." The unfinished pages of the main characters' life stories are being pieced together by all parties involved. On January 14th, the presence of a key figure at a leading law firm specializing in international disputes opened a new avenue for speculation. Instead of silence, a multifaceted defense strategy appears to be taking shape. The goal is likely to prevent the spread of documents from the Vatican, protect the biological privacy of future generations, and reshape the nature of the palace's financial freeze. A voice from Hollywood offered a sharp analogy: "This is no longer an ordinary game of chess. When the pieces are no longer in the right positions, people tend to want to overturn the entire board." On the morning of January 18th, 2026, history will likely record this as the moment when vigilance shifted to a state of large-scale, coordinated containment. A whisper from a 29-year-old woman became a real earthquake, forcing all levels of leadership to take action. We are witnessing a convergence of classified intelligence records, ancient Vatican rules, and modern genetic analysis. All are coming together to create a moral and legal judgment unlike any other in the modern history of the Windsor royal family. The veil of mystery is gradually being lifted, but behind it lies a new labyrinth of questions. When truth is no longer a single concept, but a synthesis of fragments from the past, what will we believe? Can an established system adapt to unprecedented variables, or will it choose silence to preserve its existing structure? And more importantly, in the battle between transparency and privacy, who truly holds the key to the future? As the legal hurdles from Diana's third clause began to take effect, a new strategy quietly emerged in the corridors of power from Windsor to Clarence House. Observers called this heritage blockade, inheritance lockdown, a systemic response to unpredictable developments from the Vatican and transatlantic legal moves. The focus of this campaign is believed to revolve around the decisiveness of the heir to the throne. On January 17th, an executive directive was reportedly issued suspending all claims and ceremonies related to the Sussex family. This is not merely an individual reaction, but is seen by experts as a self-defense mechanism aimed at preserving the asset's reputation and stability of future generations. One of the clearest signals of this purge is the correction of institutional memory. The removal of a central figure's name from the archives of long-standing royal initiatives sends a quiet but powerful message. While legal hurdles are being set, the family's moral guardian, Princess Anne appears to be taking on the role of overseeing transparency. A comprehensive audit of funding and donations during the 2020 to 2023 period has been triggered. The ultimate goal of this action is to ensure that the royal institution is not drawn into scenarios they never agreed to. This is no longer a matter of a family. It is a test of a monarchy's ability to govern itself. While legal storms rage behind closed doors, Princess Catherine appears to be playing a long game through the power of symbols. On January 18th, her appearance in a navy blue outfit at a children's hospital drew all eyes. Fashion and historical analysts suggest this is no random choice but a strategically calculated reference to the image of Princess Diana, a silent message of stability, composure, and the continuation of the legitimate lineage is being sent amidst the storm. This battle is not only taking place in legal documents but also in shaping public perception. When the monarchy chooses coordinated restraint and heritage blockade, they stand at a historical crossroads. In the most turbulent times, dignity